Welcome to But Frankly Pierce News. I'm Arthur Fairview. Here's what we're facing. Dateline, Monday, March 28th. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill into law that forbids instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through third grade, a policy that has drawn intense national scrutiny from critics who argue it marginalizes LGBTQ people.
DeSantis? Oh, you mean the other Florida man.
Need we say more?
So the less said, the better.
Legislation has pushed Florida and DeSantis, an ascending Republican and potential 2024 presidential candidate, to the forefront of the country's culture wars. LGBTQ advocates, students, Democrats, the entertainment industry, and the White House have dubbed the measure the Don't Say Gay law.
I woke up feeling so good.
DeSantis and other Republicans have repeatedly said the measure is reasonable and that parents, not teachers, should be broaching subjects of sexual orientation and gender identity with their children. The law went into effect just days after DeSantis signed a separate bill that potentially restricts what books elementary schools can keep in their libraries or use for instruction. A Florida kindergarten teacher, Corey Bernhardt, was recently interviewed on MSNBC and offered an interesting perspective.
Nowhere in our curriculum does it have anything about teaching sexual orientation or sexual identity. So for them to say that's happening, it's kind of crazy. But we should be able to have discussions, and that's what we're encouraged to do in kindergarten. And then they ask, well, what does partner mean, Mr. Bernard? And, I'm worried, can I tell them what it means? I'm also worried for my kids. I have a little girl this year who has two moms, and the kids are curious about her two moms. They want to know about her two moms. If they go to her and ask her about her two moms and she doesn't know what to say, they're going to come to me and ask me. And then, so what do I do? It opens up for parents to really take some legal action against the schools and teachers. And I am afraid for myself, my colleagues, and my students.
As a result, there is no dancing around this issue.
You think DeSantis could dance?
No, but I know a good teacher.
You do an eclectic celebration of the dance. You do fussy, fussy, fussy. You do Martha Graham, Martha Graham, Martha Graham. Or Twyla, Twyla, Twyla. Or Michael Kidd, Michael Kidd, Michael Kidd, Michael Kidd. Or Madonna, Madonna, Madonna. But you keep it all inside.
Meanwhile, in Utah, for a brief moment, there was clarity. Republican Governor Spencer Cox vetoed a bill that would ban transgender students from playing girls' sports, stating he'd been moved by data showing that including transgender youth in sports could reduce suicide rates within the group.
Bravo.
But very quickly, it became Utah state lawmakers overrode the veto, ensuring the controversial piece of legislation will go into effect.
Really?
Yes, really. During a special session called specifically to consider a veto override, both Republican-controlled chambers of the state legislature met the 2/3 threshold to revive the bill. The measure passed 21-8 in the Senate and 56-18 in the House. The legislation is slated to go into effect July 1st.
How many states is that now?
Utah is now the 12th state after Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia to implement bans targeting transgender athletes.
The numbers are trending the wrong way.
Now, for some good news.
Trump has been arrested?
Well, no, that would be great news. But since you brought him up.
I didn't bring him up.
In the midst of the continuing investigation of the January 6th insurrection, internal White House records that were turned over to the House Select Committee shows a gap in the failed former President Donald Trump's phone logs.
Well, that happens occasionally. A few minutes here or there are lost.
It's a bit more than a few minutes.
Oh, how many then?
457. 7 hours and 37 minutes, including the period when the Capitol building was being violently assaulted, according to documents obtained by the Washington Post and CBS News. The lack of an official White House notation of any calls placed to or by Trump for 457 minutes on January 6th means the committee has no record of his phone conversations as his supporters descended on the Capitol.
Paging Rosemary Woods.
And if that wasn't bad enough.
I thought you said you had some good news.
We do. After this word from our sponsor, please stay tuned.
It's nothing fancy. It's what you crave. Beer. Now also in light.
And we're back. Thanks for staying with us. In a new interview just published, failed former President Donald Trump called on failing current Russian President Vladimir Putin to release any damaging information he has about the Biden family in a brazen request for domestic political assistance from America's top adversary.
Thank you for being a friend.
There has been no comment from the Kremlin as of yet.
Putin's been too busy practicing his Hitler imitation.
What do they want from me? I'm good-natured. I'm good-hearted. I'm good-looking.
But we do have a response from Russian state TV. Do you recall when President Biden delivered this emotional speech in Poland?
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Yes.
We remember.
Well, Russian state TV has pulled a Tucker Carlson.
Нашему народу пришло время призывать народ Соединенных Штатов сменить режим в США досрочно и снова помочь нашему партнеру Трампу стать президентом.
Partner?
Tit for tat on regime change?
Perhaps. But now the good news we promised.
Finally.
And it's a twofer. First, the latest job report came out last week showing 431,000 jobs added in March, and the unemployment rate dropping to 3.6% from 3.8% last month.
Great.
Second, the new report shows the percentage of jobs in the US that fall under the category of green is up to 9 million, or 6% of the total workforce. This number is not only set to exponentially rise to 24 million, or 14% of the workforce, but is already underestimated in most private and public employment data.
What kind of jobs are we talking here?
Most green jobs in the green economy are actually quite typical jobs that don't represent actual solar panel installation, for example, but often fall under roles in, say, accountancy or engineering for green economy firms or production.
Say green.
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 Two separate prepared forecasts of the green economy found that over the next 8 years, it will grow at 16 times the national job creation rate.
That is good news. Okay, Arthur, you're off the hook.
And in the realm of not so good news?
Ukrainian soldiers have recaptured the areas around Kyiv that Russian forces had taken early in the invasion.
How is that not so good?
In the retaking of the territory, they found mines and other explosives left in homes, tortured and executed civilians, and in the city of Bucha, near Kyiv, a mass grave of nearly 280 civilians. Some 400 plus civilians reportedly killed, with some bodies laying in the streets for weeks. To date, there is still no complete body count due to mines and explosives being used to booby trap the corpses if anyone tries to move them.
Okay, point taken.
Over the last several weeks, Amnesty International has been gathering information and interviewing over 20 people from villages and towns close to Kyiv, several of whom witnessed or had direct knowledge of horrifying violence committed by Russian forces. Agnes Kalamard, the Secretary General of Amnesty International, stated, "Testimonies show that unarmed civilians in Ukraine are being killed in their homes and streets in acts of unspeakable cruelty and shocking brutality." This video from ABC News hints at the brutality.
Authorities here telling us more than 400 people were killed. Streets littered with bodies. Civilians look to have been executed in the streets. This man, hands bound behind his back. Another appears to have been shot while riding his bicycle. This, a small bag of groceries beside another victim. What threat did he pose?
What threat, indeed. The reported war crimes and atrocities have made it impossible to separate the Russian troops from current failing Russian President Vladimir Putin. Their shared criminality will have the effect of solidifying Putin's power by making all the Russians outcasts together, as they have deliberately demonstrated that they reject the Western rules of war. As Russia expert Tom Nichols put it, if Putin's goal was to cement his grip on power by making Russia hated for decades to come.
Well, congratulations.
I guess.
Really? This just in, we are told But Frankly Pierce News is the only remaining independent news source in Russia.
Not anymore.
This has been But Frankly Pierce News. Thanks for watching. I'm Arthur Fairview. with, without. And who'll deny it's what the fighting's all about?
Thank you.